Hello, welcome to the Utah Puck Report. I'm your host, Jay Stevens. Gary is once again absent, only because I forgot to invite him. So, I know he's always busy. It's a weekend, and he's out of town with his kids playing hockey, so that's what we're all here for. Today, we're going to talk about women's hockey, and this is probably the third episode we've done with talking about women's hockey. And I'm trying to write an article right now, and in the words of, I believe, Salt and Pepper, I want to know what it is, what it was, and what it should be. And so we'll give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves, and I want to hear your stories about how you got into hockey. I want to know the goods and the bads. I want to know, like, what was the best part of growing up with it, or when you got into it, and what's been the worst part of it. And I'm not trying to get drama, but I want to know, like, I think everybody needs to know, because there's been a couple times that I've had people on, and we have these conversations, and we turn off the mic, and then they tell me these stories, and I'm like, no, you should have said that. Yeah. Tell me. Say that when the mic's on, so that, like, if we don't know, we can't fix it.
Right.
And I was talking to, now I can't even remember who it was. I want to say it was Cami Cote.
Yeah.
I can't.
Anderson.
Cami Cote Anderson now, and she was on the show like season 1, and I'm like, tell me, like, how can we make it better for women in hockey? And she was just like, oh, like better locker rooms or whatever. And then she went on to tell me all these stories about, like, everybody hitting on her and all, like, just all this stupid crap, right? Yeah. And we don't need to hear all the details. It doesn't need to be pornographic. Again, we're KSL, so we couldn't get that crazy anyway. But we need to know so we can help fix it. Kelli, let's start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about introduce yourself, and then tell us kind of how you got into hockey and what you're doing with it now.
All right, well, that's a good segue because I did grow up with Cami. My name's Kelli Louie, born and raised here in Utah. Started skating when I was 4. Started playing hockey when I was 8. Played with the boys up until about 12, and then went to the Lady Grizz with Cami. Left at 16, went to play for Dallas, went to college in Utica, New York, played there, NCAA Division III. Played in Pennsylvania for a few years, moved back, started playing 18 and over women's hockey.
You just play like all hockey, right? Like I see you everywhere.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
If it's ice time, I will go as long as the guys aren't douchebags. But the girls aren't douchebags either. Those ones are going to get edited out. But as long as the teams are accepting,
you can call them jerks.
As long as they're not jerks, and you're going to get jerks in men's league, you're going to get jerks in women's league.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll play.
Any position,
wherever, whenever.
Yeah, you play in the goal?
I do.
I know. I've seen you play in goal. That's why I've asked. Okay, Becky, introduce yourself. Tell us how you got into it.
Oh, okay. Becky Jacobsen. Let's see. I grew up. Soccer was my thing. Played it in California. Played through Utah. About 10 years ago, I got my 2 boys into the game. My oldest started skating when he was 7. My youngest at 3. So I started as a team manager, graduated to hockey coach, graduated to president of DC Wind for a few years. And while I was there, there's the Ice Vixen out of Bountiful. And my captain, her son, started playing with us. So she talked to me. I started skating with them, and I haven't looked back. It's been 7 years now, I think.
Nice.
That I've played with them, and I'm just addicted. I play with them. I play on men's team. Wherever I can get ice, same thing. I will play with anybody, anywhere, because it's in your blood.
Yeah.
You can't stop. It's way too much fun.
That's what I try to tell people about hockey is that, like, just play it and then you'll never quit. That's why, like, people are amazed, like basketball players and baseball players or whatever, they play a little bit. Maybe there's a tiny bit of men's league, but like beer league is such a huge thing. I just realized that word's going to get edited out too. But men's league, I didn't want to say men's league, but like adult league, right?
I mean, that's what it is.
Old men league, it's there. And like, if I wasn't going to Germany tomorrow, I would be in Idaho right now with my old coach playing in a 60-plus tournament because they have them.
I know it's so much fun. And really, when I was coaching, my goal, I mean, I know all these cute little adorable kids. They are my favorite. Hockey coaching has been my favorite thing that I've ever done. But we all know they're not going to make it to the big show. That's just not how it rolls.
Well, that you speak for yourself there. My little girl, she's
okay. Maddie will definitely.
She's got to go somewhere because I'm not saving for college.
No, I'm getting her signature now. It'll be worth a lot someday. I know that for sure. But as long as those kids come back, they go through high school, play in college, whatever. But they come back and they're playing against me in adult league. It is my favorite thing to see that they're still on the ice, and they will continue, and they come back and coach, and their kids start to play, and it's really a legacy situation.
Yeah,
never thought I'd fall in love like I did, but it is. It's an addiction.
It's kind of fun.
And it's way too much money.
A lot of the guys I grew up with playing, they had daughters that ended up playing, and 2 years ago we had a summer league team, and it was like all of us and our kids. And
nice.
and all those daughters were out there playing with us. They all played at the U, and they're legit. They're probably our best players at this point, you know. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us?
Yeah. So my name's Kristi Davis. I was born and raised in Utah. I actually started watching hockey like junior high school, and neighbor kids played it. I did not want to play with the boys. I would go to the games, and there were like 2 girls on the high school team, and everybody was ruthless. Like, I can't believe she thinks she can play with them. And what are these girls doing out there? And I was like, I would never, like, I loved hockey. I would have never joined that environment. And so at the time, women's hockey could take girls at 17. So when I was 17, the Wings were like, do you want to come play women's hockey? And I was like, yes. I went to one practice, completely hooked, never looked back. Like, absolutely loved it. I then went up to Logan and tried to commute down to the Wings for a season. Hated that. Started the Freeze in Logan. So that was kind of fun. That was a journey.
So you're responsible.
Right?
So much.
So fun. And then I left. I went up to Boise, worked up there with like the Steelheads, worked for Boise State in athletics and things like that, and kind of player coached women's hockey there. Went back east to New Hampshire for a little while, player coached some women's programs, and now I'm here back home playing for the Wings again, which is funny because they got me started a million years ago. I won't date myself that much, but enough that like people's children are now playing with me, but it's fine. And then I'm the director of female development now up at our rink for the Junior Mustangs. So now I get to build that bridge, which is really cool because now I get to help girls 4 to 19, and then I'm already in women. So I feel like I'm like that whole range now.
Are there more directors of women development in hockey in Utah, or are you like the only one? I've never heard that title before.
It feels like she's the only one.
So
honestly.
I think they're getting better. There's definitely a better push now to develop it for specifically girls and women. But having someone actually over a program and doing what she does, no, we need way more Kristis.
Yeah, I don't think, because I know that there are people that are over girls' teams, but as far as like the encompassing female development that I take on for girls of all ages, for example, I have some of my girls that I put through reffing clinics this year because I want more female refs on the ice. Yeah. So I want my younger girls coming up to see female refs. I want them to see female refs. So I'm putting girls through reffing programs. We put them through a student coaching clinic, so now my girls can student coach different programs. Then we're developing female coaches so that my girls are coached by more females. So I think we have, at the last girls women's hockey weekend we hosted, we had like a fourth of the female coaches in Utah come out and grab that. So yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's kind of developing an entire system where like we're incorporating more female refs, coaches, players, like that's a bulk of what I'm doing to try to build up, which will eventually build into our women's program.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's awesome because that really does kind of play into what I want to talk about. Because so let's talk about like what it was, and I'll tell you when we first started this podcast 6 years ago, and we would talk about NCAA players, and kind of I was telling you guys before we went on the air that we didn't know how to handle a podcast at first because I'm hired by a sports broadcasting company, and they're like, look, we don't really want to give hockey too much time. We're gonna give it a podcast and see how it does. But we're gonna run it like a sports show. So you're gonna do a podcast, but you're gonna be in a TV studio in front of a camera, and then we'll just release that as a podcast. And that was kind of weird, but I would do like weekly updates on how our players were doing.
Yeah.
And as I started researching it, I'm like, at that time we had like 5 men playing NCAA. And then I found out we had 9 women playing NCAA. And I'm like, I've coached here. I've run camps here.
Yeah.
I thought I knew most of the players. I knew 2 of the girls that were playing.
Yeah.
I don't know where they came from or how they got good enough to play in the NCAA. I honestly, I remember when you went, I remember Cammie. I honestly thought when Cammie played, I I thought she would really put Utah on the map.
I thought so too.
Yeah,
I definitely thought that
phenomenal goaltender. It sucks because she's just a little bit younger than me, but she was like, if people are looking for a sub, they're like, hey, Cammie just hasn't called us back yet, but if she can't play with you, like
we're gonna wait for her.
Yeah, she was always like the first pick, and I really thought that after that you'd see more, and apparently we did, but we didn't realize it in the state, and we didn't have a lot of females playing with us, when I played at Weber State, and then I left the state for a little bit before Weber State, and I don't know, it just seems like it's starting to grow. But what was it like playing with the boys? Like you grew up playing, and you kind of, there was some D-bags or whatever, but what was it really like? Like,
I mean, playing with the boys, it was fine. You were just the same, we were all the same size, we were all the same talent. And then they figured out that we couldn't dress in the same locker room anymore, which...
At like
I don't know,
13?
10, 11.
10 or, okay.
You usually switch them at 10U is usually the switch.
we-
But back then, I don't think they were,
only
because
had
now we
2
switch it at like
rinks.
10.
Right.
When I was young, we had 2 rinks. We had Cottonwood and Bountiful. And Bountiful was they were both
Yeah, you just,
It
It was a closet behind
You know what I was
yeah.
going to say. But they were not prepared to have more than what the locker rooms that they needed.
Right.
And so, like, I was in a bathroom. I was, like, behind the bench somewhere. And you didn't get that camaraderie, and that's fine. So
well, that's that's why we keep playing. Like, the sport's amazing, but the camaraderie is important, and I always
best
feel
part.
bad. Yeah, I try to make sure on our teams now, like that tournament we were in, I tried to make sure you were in our locker room. I try to make sure that the camaraderie is there for everybody. And now, I don't know if you've noticed, but Canada is now saying that they want you to come with your under stuff already on.
So
It's just going to be an included locker.
Yeah,
Everybody's
so
in the
I mean,
same
that
locker room.
would
So
make
they,
sense.
so Hockey Canada this last month, what they passed was you can't change completely naked anyway, even in the
you're not.
same gender room, which USA Hockey
not
doesn't
full
currently
Monty
have. So right now at USA Hockey levels, you're under 18 locker room, right? But you can still change as you see fit. So Hockey Canada now has like a minimum amount of clothing you have to have on, even in the same gendered locker room. You still have to have a minimum amount of clothing on. You have to go to a bathroom to change that. It'll be interesting to see
Showers are enclosed, everything. They're
they're
the
very
whole landscape is
much
changing.
trying.
So,
And I think it does bring in more of like just like gender inclusive, because if everyone's going to get to base layers, right, which is kind of where like the safe sport layer levels out, then now you can have more of that.
Right, you can be in the same space.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's
Right.
It was weird because I got picked up by the Wichita Thunder when they were in town last week, and they had a female trainer. So when I got there, I just walked in, I started setting my stuff up, and then I bring my own gitch, my own underclothes, and I just started getting undressed. I was already kind of running late. And they're like, "Oh, hey."
Yeah, they're like.
by the way.
I had no idea there was a female trainer, but I'm standing with my butt facing out, and they're like, "Yeah, we have a female trainer." And I'm like, "Oh, so what do I do?" And they're like, we have like 10 minutes. They have like a little 10-minute span where they get their unders on, and then they're just supposed to keep the unders on most of the time, which actually is kind of nice at this point. Like, that wouldn't be bad even because when I go to the gym and I'm in the locker room at the gym. And I get that I'm one of the old guys now, but there are older guys than me just walking around completely naked and doing the, the butt floss thing. And you're like, it's
not a bad rule to just say like, hey, because the thing is you have the space to change. You're still fine to change, but then it just kind of brings it.
What about the shower part? Like, are we going to go to stalls? Or is it?
That's, I think,
or
if you
we just shower at home?
Shower at home, wear a swimsuit. Ugh. I know, it's all a pain. Or I think they're going to start enclosing where you have your individual showers. You have the curtains and everything like that. And then that's the thing, but you still can't come out of there unless you have your unders on. So it's going to be a little bit more trouble, but I love the idea because there's been several times I've played on men's teams where I'm in the hallway. Yeah. Changing where I'm going, how is this okay for me to be out here where everybody else is and I have to change, but I'm not allowed to go in with the guys. Yeah. And it's not even the guys. The guys would totally be fine with it. They really don't care. It's the USA Hockey rules. and safe sport and everything like that, which I don't want to get anyone in trouble or the tournament in trouble or anything like that. So I understand, but
and even
it's
in
not
same,
fun.
but even in same gender locker rooms, there are people with body insecurities too that are just more comfortable.
I gotta admit, I'm kind of split on it because we had to start doing it. I think I was 7th grade the first time that they're like, okay, in gym class now, if you don't shower, if you don't get naked in front of everybody and shower, and I'm 12.
But they hit that hard.
We're talking about body insecurity.
We had that too in junior high, where
it was like, get over it, it's your body.
Yeah, and if I don't shower naked, I fell.
Yeah.
It seems a little corrupt.
It was
Looking back on it, maybe it seems a little sketchy.
It was a little bit weird.
The coach is in there with a clipboard. But
that's true. Let's not think too back of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, so
different times.
So you the camaraderie part, and you said it was pretty decent because you guys were same. But were there times where you felt excluded? Or
100%. I mean, I felt excluded from the very beginning. I was
because of what?
Well, just.
I'm not trying to dredge up drama
I'm trying to think
I don't want to put you in therapy after this.
It's been a while. I mean, it's been 25 years since I've played on a strictly boys team,
right?
Team, anything like that. So it's just.
Was it coaches? Was it players? Or was it just maybe just a weird vibe?
Weird vibe. The community was so male dominated, as everybody, and it just is, and it wasn't anybody in particular. It wasn't coaches. It just
okay. That makes sense, and that my world is that way right now, but it's changing. Mm-hmm. And I can say, as a firefighter, there have been like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. I typically have 6 people on my crew, and the other couple weeks ago there were 2 men and 4 women. Yep. And that's the first time in 26 years that I was outnumbered by women. So things are changing, and I don't know. Like, I just want to know, like I said, I want to know what it was. I want to know what it is now, and then I want to know what we can do as a community to make it better.
So one of the things I think, like, from what I have seen over time and, like, my experiences as I grew up was, like, there was, like, a couple different ways that girls are treated still kind of in boys high school hockey. And it's this: if the girl's not good, it's her fault. I can't believe she thinks she can play with them. Okay. Even if boys suck, they don't get that same attention, right? But, like, it's very hard for the girls that aren't gooder to pick it up if they're going into that because, like, you're not good enough. But then there's this mentality where it's like, do I pull a girl out of a boys team if that's where her best place to shine and be competitive is, right? So you have these parents who are like, if I don't put my daughter that is talented on the boys team, will she rise to the level she can get on? Mm-hmm. So there's just, like, all these different dynamics where it's like the girls are typically accepted on the boys teams if they're competitive enough, where the boys in general are accepted. So I think that's the dynamic, right? So, like, new boys that start playing are, like, automatically, but the girls, it's like if you're good and you can hold your own, then you kind of have a fighting chance. But if you're newer and you're less, then I do feel like you kind of get, like, tumbled through. And I think that you have to prove yourself where no one else is having to prove themselves in the same way. Mm-hmm. So you're having to kind of make sure to, like, show that. Okay. And it's such a mixed bag because, like, with women, like I play on my team, like, there are ones that they quit over time, right? And this is where women's hockey where I see us fixing women's hockey, is this. Half of the girls that play hockey at 12 are going to quit by the time they're, like, 18, 19. That's just numbers.
Well, that's most any sport,
right? Boys aren't dropping nearly as fast. So what's happening with girls is you have co-ed programs through 14. So everybody, the Wind, the Mustangs, everybody's housing 14 co-ed programs. After 14, they're only usually having travel and tier at 16, 18, right? Mm-hmm. So only the best boys are staying in the house programs. The girls are just getting dumped into high school hockey. Half of them are going to quit, and then we have to try to get everybody back for women's. Yeah. So if we can bridge that gap where we can find, like, a good space to get people engaged through those rough teenage years, which is girls, they quit multiple sports, right? Like, that's just a hard age. So it's cool because, like, the Wind right now have a 19U girls program. The Junior Mustangs have a 19U. The Lady Grizz have a 19U. So I actually think the future of women's hockey is going to be really awesome because instead of us, like, losing all these teenage girls, like, can we keep them? Like
Oh.
we want to just like keep you, right? Because there's so many girls. I'm sure you guys have it in your locker room where they're like, oh yeah, I quit at 14. I didn't want to play with the boys anymore. I quit at 15 because my parents says it wasn't safe anymore. Like so there were like all these.
That happened to me.
So like you're finding new women to play, but you're also trying to talk them back into coming back. Like how cool would it be if they really just had this continuation and we were just like cool, like hey, now you're in adult league, like. That'd be so cool.
Well, I think a big jumping point off of what Kristi was saying, and this is something that when I was involved in GC Wind and other programs, I mean, talking at the state level, is that we're still trying to figure out, okay, so we went from when Kelly was growing up, you know, girls just had to play with the guys. They wanted to play hockey, they had to play with the guys. There were no other options. To where, okay, now we've got these co-ed programs, which are wonderful, but we also want to have, because girls are very social creatures and they love other girls.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we take them off the boys' team and make our girls' teams, which is great. But then the girls that program is just not as developed as the boys has been. So the coaching, the talent, it's just not quite there yet. So are we doing them a disservice, you know, segregating them over here, even though they love it? And then there's also just not that many girls teams to play in the States. They always have to travel out of state. And so that's extra cost. So now we're trying, you know, okay, yes, here's a girls team, but you can also still play in your co-ed team. So, you know, it's a lot of hockey and there are opportunities. It's just trying to get that built enough that girls do have the options of, do we play strictly female? Do we, you know, play co-ed? You know, where are we going to fit best? And I think that's our biggest rock and a hard place right now.
Nationally speaking, this is like a stat I've been geeking out over for like the last like year. Like literally, I love this so much. So our women's USA Hockey national team is now rostering girls that played girls hockey their whole career, meaning we no longer need the rhetoric of the best girls in our country had to grow up playing with boys to be good enough to play. So now you are seeing girls programs that are competitive enough to turn out Olympic athletes from girls playing 6U on. We have women Olympians who never stepped on the ice with the boys, proving that there is a possibility of a strong enough girls program that we do not have to send our girls into co-ed programs to make the best players. What we have to do instead is build better women's programs.
Yeah.
Because the rhetoric previously over history has been you send your best girls to play with the boys to get better.
Right.
And the rhetoric needs to be, no, let's just build better girls programs, right? Like, let's build that and then
that makes
work
sense.
into that.
I can see it the other way too, though. Well, as far as like everybody's fighting for equality right now, right?
Right.
But like, what if that's just the best option and it's everybody plays together?
Yeah.
And that's I was having this conversation last night at the firehouse because we're watching hockey, and they've got it was the game from Switzerland or whatever that was going on yesterday, and they're like, hey, there are these women announcers just like in the NFL, but these girls seem to know what they're talking about. And I said, yeah, because those girls have played their whole lives.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then those girls also played in college, and they also played in the Olympics. Like they know what they're talking about, and because they're really breaking it down, and they're talking about this. How the 2-1-2 forecheck wasn't working in this game, and how this goalie was. They're breaking down their goaltending, and they're using goaltending terms. And one of the firefighters, he's a soccer fan, and he's asking me all kinds of questions. He just doesn't know anything about hockey, so it's not like he's sexist. He's just like, does that girl, is she making stuff up, or does she really know?
This doesn't even sound like English.
Is she reading a script? And I'm like, no, that girl has played her whole life. Like she knows what she's talking about. It's different than it's not just a person that went to journalistic school somewhere, or journalism school, which I obviously need. And it's somebody that knows the game and has like information and has the right to be there, has earned the right to be there, probably more so than most sports. Maybe soccer has the same thing, right? I guess basketball too, but I think just at this level with hockey, just they have those options. But I think it's cool to see. And I liked when I was coaching. And I coached for 17 years. I coached everything from, little kids to junior A.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed having females on my team. And like I felt like I could create a good environment for them to learn and play with the boys.
Yeah.
And I think they had, I hope they had like great experiences playing with us. I keep in touch with a few of them and, get invited to their weddings and stuff. So hopefully they
like me.
Yeah, I think they had a good experience, but you're right. I mean, they should be able to play with the women too. Just whatever they want to do. I guess that's what I'm saying. I see how you'd want them all in the women's program, so the women's program's good. Just like we were talking about before, like if we keep all the good Utah players here, they don't have to go to Colorado.
Yeah.
If we keep all the good women together, they don't have to play with the boys. But if they want to,
right,
for sure.
they should.
Like if the girls' program isn't strong enough, like for a girl to push her max, then yes, she needs to go where she needs to go. But also, can we make the girls' program better?
Are the girls' programs check?
No.
There's no contact
At
all levels.
That's something that
In girls hockey, if they're playing like in high school, and it's a mixed bag, it is full check. But if it's just females, it's no check.
Okay.
So females are more likely to suffer brain injuries and concussions. They manifest later. The symptoms manifest later, and they're not as noticeable, and they tend to get treated. Sometimes misdiagnosed and mistreated because they show up later and they last longer. So USA Hockey has all these studies, right? So they're not going to add checking to girls hockey because it's just more dangerous.
Oh, that's fine.
So the only way you would truly be able to have like a multi-game spectrum would be to take checking out at a kid's level. Because once we get into adult hockey, now all of a sudden we're not checking again and it's fine to play together.
Well,
so that's where
checking, I mean, let's be honest. There might be a few times.
So yeah, just because of like the safety, the studies, and everything on that, like they won't add checking to girls hockey. So the girls that are playing at 14 and older, that are playing high school hockey and stuff, they are playing check hockey, but because they're following co-ed rules.
Well, Canada's super close to taking contact out.
Completely. Yeah.
Until 16 or 18. It's already taken out till 14 now, I think.
Right.
But I was just reading how they're talking about taking it out till maybe even 18, till junior A.
Yeah.
So that's 16 to 21, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a friend, he's a professional roller hockey player, and he's been on this podcast a few times. He lives in Winnipeg, and man, he puts these rants on Facebook. That's how I know what's going on in Canadian hockey, because he still coaches and stuff. But yeah, they're super close, and I see the benefit to both. Because it would be weird to never check and then all of a sudden be playing juniors, especially if you're that 16-year-old playing a 21-year-old.
Right.
But,
well, the thing is, you have to go to competitive contact, which isn't a bad way to play. It's just misunderstood. And you have to re-teach an entire generation of parents, because the kids will learn just fine.
Right.
But you have to re-teach an entire generation of parents
so
the difference between competitive contact and checking. And, like, we're not asking you to not touch each other.
We're
not even asking you to not go into the boards somewhat together, but what we're asking you to do is find a way to get the puck away from them without separating them from the puck.
Separate them from the puck without lighting them up.
Yeah. So but yeah, you have to have like this whole generational switch to competitive contact, and that is such a fine line. Well, trying to teach competitive contact to people is like, these kids look at you like you're freaking crazy, and you're like, no. They're like, what do you mean competitive contact? Right. I'm like,
my daughter compared it to the same thing. She said, for years and years and years, everybody's wanted U.S. math to be better.
Yeah.
So the U.S. went through and they said, well, what are the countries that are good at math? How are they teaching it? And they're like, okay, we're going to come up with this common core. That's kind of how it's taught everywhere else. And then, and then every parent's like, this is wrong. I don't know. But then the kids that learn it, they're like, no, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And my daughter went to, I bring it up probably more than I'm supposed to, but my daughter went to one of the most prestigious math schools in our country, and then she took their hardest math class. And I haven't known what she was doing in math since third grade.
Right.
And it's
exactly.
But it's like, she learned Common Core math, and that's how she does it, and she's excelling at it, and our kids are excelling at it. But I didn't know, and everybody my age was arguing like, well, how am I supposed to help them with it? Well, maybe you're not the right person to help them with.
Yeah. And
that's the same thing with, the parents in the stands. And I was the worst basketball parent in the stand, because I was yelling whatever the other parents were yelling, but I don't know the rules of basketball. And I'm like, hey, that's over the back. And then one of the refs finally came to me. He was a firefighter, and he's like, there's really no over the back. Like, it's contact. If there's contact from the front or the back, doesn't matter. It's just contact. Like, you need to learn the rules. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. I probably do need to.
You're like,
I'll just sit here and shut up.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the rules, and that's as rules change, and they keep changing in hockey.
Yeah.
It's probably good that the parents need to have a sit down and be like, hey, just check out. Just
for sure.
But I think competitive contact is even under taught at like an adult age.
Yeah.
Like,
Bless you.
like
Thank
I
you.
want to be
Absolutely.
like
Thank you.
some of the women's hockey games that we
my
play.
heavens.
I want.
It's bad.
I understand that there is contact, and some people like you'll like barely touch them, they fall
And
over and have
they're
a
pissed.
fit, and you're like, no, like we've got to like.
We've got to be
We're
able to-
not hurting anybody, but you
It's a contact
as
sport.
adults, like in any co-ed league at the Oval or women's league, like competitive contact is under taught at every age, including as adults. Like
I agree.
adults are still like,
Well,
I'm like, no, we can bump each other. That's okay. Like
sure.
And
it's
state
not
to
no
state.
touch.
It's not just the players, but it's the
it's
officials
very
too.
yeah.
Because
Yes.
you go
Oh,
state
yeah.
to state. Like Utah calls it pretty like almost any contact. So
Yes.
And then
I
when
look
we
at someone wrong and I get called.
yeah, and then we go to another state and play where they do play competitive contact.
Yeah.
You know, you play in Minnesota, or even Vegas lets a lot go. And they're like, "Hey, this is no contact." They're like, "No, this is no check."
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
there's a big difference.
Huge
there's a
difference.
difference, right? There's the,
Well, and I think that's the hardest thing because I have played, and totally jump in, ladies, if I am observing this wrong. But from my point of view, I do spend a bit of time in the penalty box. It's my thing, apparently. But I'm really not. I feel like I'm not doing that much because I can pull the same moves when I'm playing on a men's team. And I'm totally
no,
fine.
you're absolutely
Okay.
I never get a call. I have never sat in a penalty box when I've played with the men. Not once. But in women's hockey, I almost lead,
Well,
especially my team.
You
and
have to fall over too.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
If
the
you
thing.
fall over two,
Yeah.
it usually doesn't get
I
called.
feel like
Oh.
the
Yeah.
refs call it different when
Yeah.
it's just women. Because
100%.
especially, I love that she's saying that she's getting women into reffing because I think that would really help. Because you get these guys that come, and I think maybe it's a little hard for them to see women being a little more.
Physical.
Yeah.
That's a good word. I'm like, how do I put this?
Yeah.
And so maybe they call it
Softer.
earlier. I don't even know how to explain it, but I am called for some really weird things.
Yeah.
When I'm
My
playing
way
in
is to be
women's
like, we're
hockey.
not delicate.
Yeah.
Like, don't call it like we're delicate. Like, if we bump into each other,
I'm gonna follow
It's
Kelly into the board.
okay.
I'm gonna get excited about it.
Right.
And Kelly knows I'm coming, and
That's fine.
she terrifies me if she's charging down the ice. I'm like, I'm getting out of the way. This is just what's gonna happen.
is there a different rule book?
there's not.
There's
not
not.
for
same-
women.
it's the same rule book.
It still gets called different.
Okay.
There's a different set of rules. So youth hockey has their own set of rules. It's really weird. So like 19U girls hockey is considered youth hockey, but high school hockey is considered high school hockey.
Okay.
So all of them have these different rules, but like at the women's level and an adult level, like we're all the same set of rules. But yeah, if you're playing in a co-ed game, I can get away with like running into guys like crazy, not like checking them, but like they are not calling me going into a boards with a guy and getting the puck. But all of a sudden in our women's game, like two people will like run into each other and they're like, and you're like, no. Like that's just,
It's like, it was a
we're
accent,
not
they're brand new
dainty.
Well, I think what's so funny is there's this one story. So I was playing into men's. I have a lot of stories. I know Kelly's laughing because she knows a lot of my stories. But I was playing in the men's league in Bountiful. I was the only female on my team. That's great. And I get a little spicy sometimes. I got a little
There's nothing
wrong
wrong with the
angry
way you
maybe
play.
at someone. And I said, you know what? Because it was a physical game. And I don't like to get picked on. If you're going to start picking on me, I'm going to pick back. It's just what I do. And so he had the puck against the boards in front of my bench. His head was down. I may have gone across the ice, and he went over the boards.
Oh.
Well, it's probably
into-
better than going into the
into
boards.
my team, and they're
Okay,
all
that's
sitting there.
fine.
I don't think they ever
Yeah.
expected that. First of all, out of maybe a female, but out of sweet little me. But I didn't even get a call. I should have been. I mean, Bo was like, "I'm surprised you didn't get thrown out of that game," because he was there and he saw the whole thing. I mean, it was a full-on check. I knew what I was doing. I did it on
Sounds like it
purpose.
was a charge too.
Yeah.
Oh,
And boarding, possibly boarding. Maybe
I
you missed the board. But yeah.
I was halfway in
Okay.
the middle of the ice. He was on the boards, and I went, and it's someone that he'd been kind of picking on me all game, and I was just done with it. And he was he was hurt, but he wasn't hurt, if that makes sense. He was okay. He finished the game out, but yeah, I didn't even get a call.
Yeah.
I think the rest were actually sitting there laughing, thinking that this guy just got taken out by a girl.
And you're like, whoa.
in
We
that
got
same in that same nature, I've been at games. I've coached games where there's been a girl on the other team or whatever, and like one, if you hit that girl, then everybody's like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
Yeah.
But two, sometimes they're like, "She's playing."
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, so if she's out and we're all playing on the same rules, then I'm gonna make contact with her just like I would anybody
And
else.
that's
For
what,
sure.
and that's what I expect. Like if you hit, if you check the girl that is playing against you, you're a jerk. The same as you'd be a jerk if you checked a guy. But competitive contact, being physical, that
Right.
does not that spans all genders. That spans however you identify.
Okay.
Like, you got to be able to play the same body the way you play.
Oh,
You know what I mean? And you're a jerk if you
just-
hit a guy
what
the
if-
same as a
looks
girl.
bad.
What about the high
Yeah.
school kid
Which is unfortunate.
that lights up a girl?
I know, and that's where it gets tricky.
That's why I'm asking, because
I think it goes to, and again, observations as a hockey coach at this point, is that I think it's more if you're watching him through the game, kind of when I said this guy was picking on me, it wasn't because, he was hitting me or doing this and that. No, he was targeting me.
Right.
Like, out of the whole team, he never bothered anybody else. It was always me.
okay.
So that's where I'm going, this is ridiculous. If you're playing this way with everybody, I have no problem. But if it's always just me that you're constantly just going after, I'm going to stand up for myself. So I think if it is at the high school level, if the other team is targeting the one female, maybe on that high school team, that's not okay. But
Right.
if it's this general, everyone is playing correctly, the checking is clean and legal, there's nothing wrong with that.
I think my biggest thing with high school hockey and whether or not it's appropriate to check a boy or a girl is that Utah high school hockey, and I don't know much about high school hockey in other states, but it spans too big of an age gap. So if you are a 17-year-old senior boy and you check a 14-year-old freshman girl, yes, you're a jerk.
Okay.
That's how I feel, though. But that at that point in time, to me, it is a safety thing. Like, did you need to check her, or could you have come and take the puck or competitive contact and brought it down? So for
And
me,
that's brought up a lot.
For me, a
against
lot of it
boys too,
depends
right?
on like
For sure.
Yeah.
It's
it
the same
depends on
thing.
like a size and a physical.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, is there an intent where you know you're going to hurt them?
Yeah.
If your physical size is of a point where you think you are going to hurt another player because there's 4 years of kids playing along, and it's the same with boys. Freshman boys are little. If you're a senior guy and you go up and check someone that is not size appropriate for you to play on that, I do think that says a lot about your sportsmanship as far as like, could you have backed off?
Right.
Right? Like, could you have? So I don't think it's as much about gender as I think it's about the situation. If that girl is a senior and she is as tall as you, or she is like physically built and structurally able to take what you're laying out, is it appropriate? Yes. But I think there has to be like some context over the fact that like kids' bodies are so different in high school. The kids coming into high school hockey and the kids at that end of high school hockey are so, safety-wise, it's a struggle for me.
Well, then you also have the kids that are playing tier. And I don't know if they're still allowing it because they tried to stop my sons last year, but they're playing tier and then they're also playing high school. So these are
And it's back to numbers and points on whether you're allowed to play or not. But yeah, you have some very talented kids.
yeah,
out there.
you have
Right.
kids that have been playing their whole lives, or kids that
Or brand new.
that said, "Hey, my high school's having tryouts and everybody's welcome." So I'm
Yeah,
I'm
like, am I gonna
play,
go?
I'm
Yeah.
gonna go play on the club team.
Yeah.
and go have fun and. It's the same thing. They can get lit up. And I've seen, there are videos from Utah that have gone viral
Oh,
Yeah.
because somebody got lit up.
And that's in my opinion where it comes down to kids' personality, sportsmanship, coachability. Those aren't missed. The best kids in our state, you're not usually going to see lay that hit. They just know they don't need to.
Yeah.
Like,
Hopefully.
if you're a good enough player, like usually, or I don't know, you just that's where I think sportsmanship comes out.
Yeah. Well, it's not just even size difference on kids. I mean, we see it in what's so fun about women's hockey is you have, on the Vixen this year, we have 30 registered players, and a good chunk of them just put skates on for the first time this year. And so we have quite the difference where, if I'm playing Kelly's team, we've got Kelly who's played since she was, this teeny tiny little thing. And
Still a
she's
teeny tiny little thing.
tiny but mighty, spicy chalupa. But Kelly's gonna come charging down the ice. But if she sees someone like on my team that is, Bambiing it, trying to, I'm gonna play against you.
There's no
she
point.
pulls up, and
Right.
she,
point.
we're very developmentally friendly for the most part. You're always gonna have this person.
I think hockey is better than most sports at that.
I do.
Drop-ins and everything, yeah.
A lot more accepting, and helpful.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, because women's hockey in Utah is kind of at a cool point where like most of our teams are big enough now that like, assuming everyone showed up, which we don't because we all have lives.
Everybody's got 30 people rostered.
Every time we roll into like a tournament, all of a sudden we can like the Vixen usually break into a BC, the Wings usually break into a BC, and we get this like opportunity like all of a sudden for like one shining moment to really see that Utah women's hockey actually is two-tiered.
Yeah.
Like when we host a tournament, like the Vixen will host a tournament in December, and you will see that there are 2 tiers. Women's hockey in Utah has enough depth that there are really 2 tiers now.
Let's step back just a little bit, because that's the point of going back to the song lyrics.
Yeah.
What it is.
Yeah.
Like what you mentioned, the Vixen and the Wings. What's going on with women's hockey right now? You guys seem to have.
What do we have? We have
So
the Logan Freeze. We have the Wasatch Wings, Salt Lake Black Diamonds, Utah Howl. We have a Sirens kickoff team, which
Vixens,
Yeah,
Valkyrie.
Vixens, Valkyrie.
Provo Valkyrie. There's talk with Cedar getting their ring.
Yeah.
There's going to be
Yeah.
a Cedar women's team. And then
There's
out
a
at the
ton.
Oval, you have a whole women's league.
I mean, there's
strictly there at the
4
Oval.
teams, but it is a beginning women's league where people,
It's a rookie. It's the rookie league, like the men's rookie league, but it's a women's
It's
rookie
all
league.
women, yeah.
Wow.
where the idea behind it is, learning this sport as an adult, as a woman. This is where you're going to step into,
Yeah,
and that's
I love
where you
it.
see the people throwing on their skates for the first time, and
I love it that there's just so many options.
it is a great.
That's way more than before the episode. Like I told you, I'm like, I don't want to know a lot of stuff till we go on air because I want to be surprised.
Yeah.
But that's way more than I thought there was.
So
it's a lot.
So when we talk about it with people, like it'll come up in a conversation, we start listing like women's teams in Utah, and people they're just like, I had no
shocked.
idea. And we're like, so you have kind of like, so Logan and Provo kind of end up in the same boat. They're kind of college towns. They are always cycling through, and you never know who they're going to have, right? They're just,
It's very exciting.
like they have like their standard players, but they're rotating for the most part because they're college towns. But all of the rest of the teams are pretty stable and constantly growing to the point where, like, back when I started, it was the Wings, and then the Wings had 2 teams, and then the Wings split, and the Wings and the Vixens split, and then the Vixens have 2 teams, and the Wings have 2 teams. That's how fast it's growing. Since I've been playing for 20 years, one Wings team grew to 2, to 2 different programs, to each having 2 different programs, to the house, like. And so it's really cool, but what's happening right now is we're still like a jumbled mess of like one level, but we could.
Yeah.
But
how do
like
you guys-
it's so fun. We all like playing each other. Like
Is it
we
a
don't.
league?
No.
Well, I wouldn't
It's
use the
just
word league.
independent teams. You guys book ice,
Yeah.
book refs.
Yeah, usually. So how the Vixen do it? So Trista, she started out with the Wings. She played with them for a year, and then she wanted to help grow hockey, so she went down to Bountiful, got ice.
Oh, Trista was with the Wings longer than a year.
I don't know.
Trista's queen, man. Trista's
Trista's the queen.
been around hockey since she was a little
Right.
thing.
Oh, that's true. 'Cause her dad. Yeah, she played in high school. Oh, my
I
goodness, you guys,
I
sorry.
played for her father. That's
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I-
Her
that's
dad. Her
what
dad
this
is one of
is.
her
I was like, nah, Trista
Trista's
Badness, the
dad
Badness
coached
family.
me.
Okay.
Yeah, she's now Trista's
Terry.
coach.
Yeah.
But she started the Vixen in 2005. They've been hosting this tournament she talked about. It's at Steiner every year in December, second weekend. I want to say we usually have like 12 to 18. It depends. We've done an A, a B, and a C when we've had enough. We get teams we have some coming from Colorado. We've gotten someone from New York last year, Wyoming, California. We've gone and play out of all of us, I think, go out and do tournaments to Washington, Idaho. So it's not just,
I mean, like you said, Vegas.
yeah, Vegas.
you
Utah
know,
women's hockey is
Oregon.
great, but women's hockey, we really branch out to other states and support each other in other states as well at the same time.
Wow.
Just
But
really
as
trying to
far
grow the
as
sport.
like Great Plains District, Rocky Mountain District, if you're looking at strict like
True.
based off
Yeah,
like youth
definitely.
divisions, Utah women's hockey is doing fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like fantastic compared to some of the other states. Like we are doing very well. And I'm really excited for it because I really think as girls programming grows, I think the women's programming is going to grow. And kind of like you guys said, like right now we have 2 levels, but if we keep up with 3, 4, 19 new girls teams that are going to jump into women's, like now can we do a third? Because like Jody Barrison up in Park City, they run A sometimes, and she has a great group up there.
Oh.
You know,
Some of those girls are unreal up there.
Oh,
their A division in Muddy
can't
Puck
even.
last year, I was like,
Yep.
Oh, my jaw
even
literally
the girls,
shut just
even
watching
the
them
girls
play.
in some of the B's division at Muddy Puck up in Park City were like so good.
Well, it's
Like, we have some really
Just remember,
great.
we're a little older. Our body's slow.
Well, no, there's
every time.
There's some 40-year-olds that
That
I
are
play
just-
with up in Park City that I'm like,
I'm trying to make
I
myself
don't
feel
I
better.
don't know what you do with your life, but
Yeah,
'cause I'm
it's
old.
amazing. Well, and I was watching. I go up there and play just the drop-in stuff, and some of the girls are out there too. And I'm like, that girl's always in the right position. And I even pulled one of them aside. I said, "Where did you play?" Because You're not just playing, like you're in proper position all the time. You're facing the right way. Most men here have no clue.
Yeah.
Like we all grew up not knowing. If I hadn't have had really good coaches, and a lot of them came later in my life, but to really learn the game, I wouldn't know like when I'm supposed to turn or when I'm supposed to hit the boards or, you know, and but I'm watching some of these girls up there, they're dialed in. Like they're, and they're lighting me up. Not that that's hard, but it's like,
oh geez,
it's, you know, it's pretty impressive. And so I know what you're talking about. There's some really solid female players up there. And they all are in NCAA gear usually.
Logan's had a lot of really good girls the last few years. Because Logan talked for a while about splitting upper and lower also because they have some really good girls in Logan. Mm-hmm. And Provo has in the past, although this year, half of their team is brand new. So you never know.
Yeah, it's like a rebuild year for them because their other team.
Well, half their girls are new, though.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy.
Yeah, so they're bringing this whole new crop. But that's what's so fun.
Yeah.
And then we all teach each other. Like, I love being able to play against ones that haven't played for so long because I like, you know, being that little bit of that coach. But then I love playing against people like Kelly and Kristi and Tracy and all these other women that have played for so long because it really challenges me, which I love. Because before I'd always go and play with the men because, I mean, that still challenges me, but that's where I'd get my challenge and I'd grow, you know, because then I come back to my women's and be like, okay, this is comfortable and
social.
It's
that's like the best part is like it's so social. Like I love that aspect of it.
That part's been obvious since you guys walked in the door. It's like you guys are friends, you guys play against each other, you guys knew each other for your entire lives and you didn't realize it till you walked in the room today.
Like, we went to
elementary together. Oh my goodness.
But that's one of the things we were talking about with the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And I think that's such an important part of hockey. And for me it is. And I keep like, man, my friend group, I have when I see somebody, when I think of my friends, I'm like the majority of my friend group is from hockey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I've got fire and then I've got radio. But like the majority of my friends are from hockey. And that's why it's important to me to make sure that the females are included in the locker room so that we have that co-ed camaraderie and that can grow. But it's awesome to see that you guys have your own thing too. Like, and that's why I think it's awesome, but I also want to be a part of it. Like I want it to all be us. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's awesome that I want to see women's hockey grow here and I want you guys to have your own league. Do you ever talk about putting these teams like, is there going to be the wings in just the men's league?
So I know in Bountiful, because hockey across the board in Utah, the biggest challenge is ice and ice time. Yep. We all know that. It's hard. You can't find space anywhere. And so the Vixen, Trista's really carved out some really good time slots. We have practice every week. We have a game every week. 2 of those games are usually at Davis, if not more, or at Bountiful. And Cute Bo, who's running the men's league, you know, his league is growing. And so he really wants a little access to our ice time. So he has invited, hey, Vixen, do you want to, you know, join the men's league, you know, and play with them? And we could totally hang with them. Like, we're not worried about the talent and stuff, but I think it's still, I don't know. There's a lot of women on our team. I don't think they would feel comfortable because they are so new playing with the men. But several times, a lot of us will put teams together, play in the co-ed. So Muddy Puck for sure. Yeah. We have co-eds. We do have one co-ed team in the Bountiful League. They call it something different. It's the Lucky Puckers, but a lot of those are Vixen players.
Yeah, I think there will always be two spaces. I think women's hockey is always going to be a space that is going to be very open to new lower players and very friend-oriented. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, when we have games and we need subs, we literally will call we'll ask the other team. Like the last time we played Provo's one of Provo's players dressed in net for us to play. And we will always call each other for subs. But I always think there will be a program within women's where we're really we're trying to get girls back that quit hockey. We're trying to get new players in. And it's a really cool space for them to like socially and physically and talent-wise jump in. And then I think you'll always see as girls, I still think we're girls. As women get more talented and more comfortable, like they've played a little bit, you're really always, I think, going to see the cross where they're like jumping into co-ed. Right. So I think you'll always have this space where like some of us that could play co-ed all the time are still always going to be there because we want to be there socially.
Yeah.
And we're happy to teach the new people and bring them in. And then I think a lot of us will just always want to play co-ed because we always want to play that environment. Mm-hmm. Where I'd like to see a little more connection is I think we're lacking more co-ed tournaments, but that's just my feeling. Because I think that, like,
good point.
I think we all just have so much going on as adults, right? That like we're all busy, but we carve out time for like tournaments.
Oh yeah.
So, like, let's put together maybe, like, another co-ed weekend where everyone really does come together again. Because Muddy Puck's great, but it's kind of...
They can only allow so many. I mean...
It's limited.
But everyone loves it. It's super popular. And they have them out of state, too. But, I mean, it's really... The camaraderie is just ridiculous in the women's world. It's so much fun. I mean, when I played in the First Responders Cup with you, and we needed clock people... I mean, Kelly was there. Yeah. All I had to do was put the word out to my girls saying, hey, we need some help. Yep. They showed up immediately.
Oh, that was awesome.
Just to, I mean, that's what we do. They do. They just, everyone is there for everybody.
Yeah. So I think that space will always exist, but I think it's more of a social, like it's not, if for those of us that want to take hockey more, we always are like jumping into co-ed.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll ever lose that connection. And I don't want to lose that connection where like we can literally always we call our opponents for subs, even when we're playing our opponents. We've showed up for games in Salt Lake at 9:15 at night, and you're like, how many do you have? How many do you have? You guys want to share benches?
Split it down the middle,
No, we switch jerseys all the time.
Like, I don't think any of us will ever want to lose that camaraderie.
And I
which
totally
is the best
get
part.
that. For me, hockey is my therapy.
Yeah.
And you know, I have a crazy life outside of hockey, and like I need to skate. I need to get out, and whether it's just being with the teams, the boys, or the whatever, the co-eds.
Yeah.
Or I just like being at the rink, and like sometimes I just need to skate.
Yep.
And I think that's so important, and I think it's awesome to see more. And you said you have a hard time with, like, you call them girls or whatever. I'm always afraid of what to say now. Like, but I'm like, I want to. So it's important I think it's great for the women to have that outlet as well, because it's good to get out there. Sometimes spin class doesn't cut it. Like sometimes you need to get up and bump somebody, or you know, you need, like, for me, I've never checked anybody ever.
I don't think money though to see you do that.
I wouldn't know how.
And all your goalie gear, just lay them out.
I guess in that route, I've thrown some cheap shots,
right?
Like especially when I was in college or in juniors, but I've never really played that. But so that part's not the therapy for me. But sometimes a good save, or just, I mean, I sweat. I'll lose 8 to 12 pounds in a game, and for me, that's my therapy. And so I love that it's your therapy as well, and I love to see that, like, it's not just women playing hockey. It's women that are passionate about playing hockey, and it's your bloodline too. It's your lifeline. It's like in your blood. Like you said, I played it once, and then now it's my life. Like,
yeah, exactly. Everything else comes second.
Yeah,
it really does.
Totally get it. And
I got hockey.
I think anybody that downloads this podcast, like anybody that goes on and is like, I'm going to listen to people talk about hockey for an hour.
Yeah,
I think they're in the same boat. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up, I want to talk about how we're going to get more people in it. So this is your time to think about, you've got people out there, you've got women out there right now that have never played. And what are you going to say to them? And then you also have women out there that have played and that are like, man, I'd like to get back, but I don't know what to do. Where do I go? So this is your time. Like, get them in. What do we do?
So I think a huge thing is like recognizing that like wherever you live, there's a program. That's like what I hope you take away with when we're just like listing off all these women's teams. Someone is close to you, and someone is more than happy to take you in.
How do they find them?
Oof.
Do you have websites?
Facebook.
Some of us.
You have Facebook pages?
That's probably something we should step up on, is maybe even building a one website that has all of our teams. Maybe something
like a cohesive.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good
there is a Facebook. You're fine.
There's
a
Utah Women's Hockey.
Yep, Utah Women's Hockey
it's
Facebook group.
A lot.
It's not a ton, but if you post, hey, I'm looking to get into it, there's always teams who are like, where are you at?
Always,
Like,
well, and I guess there's the Utah hockey players too.
There's the Utah hockey players. A lot of us watch. We'll pick up people on that. But there's also Utah Women's Hockey.
Okay.
Well, in the hockey world, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
And so someone can mention to you, hey, my wife's thinking of hockey or something that you know.
Like everyone's like, here.
To call. And I mean, that's how I got in it, is I was talking to, my rink manager saying, oh, maybe I want to play. I suddenly had a list of 10 people to call.
Yeah.
Oh.
We're like, let me tell you. Yeah.
I didn't even have a chance. I had one practice, and then Trish was like, okay, we got a game Saturday. I'm like, no, we don't. No, you're playing.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's perfect.
So it's the way to do it.
But yeah, just knowing that like there's so many teams and that you're welcome is a huge thing. Like, you're 100%. Welcome.
Yeah, come out, join the family.
It doesn't matter if you haven't skated forever. That's fine.
Skated.
And I think pretty much every team. I know that with the Wings and like up in Ogden, like we have loaner gear sets too.
Well, that's what I was just going to say too.
So,
and you can just get a hold of Don Korth.
Yeah.
Don has tons of gear.
Yeah.
I've outfitted, I don't know, 7 or 8 people this year that listen to the podcast. They're like, hey, I want to play hockey.
You're like, come out,
I'm
do
like,
it.
yeah, let's do it. I'll give them Don's number, or
Right.
I've even gone out and filled up a couple bags. I'm like, hey, what size shoe do you wear?
Yeah.
Well, got them gear and got them out.
Bless women's hearts. We like to spend our money and buy things. And so there's always been, hey, I've got a new, they'll reach out to the team saying, hey, I've got a new player coming. Do people have gear? We'll have everyone has extra gear.
Everyone's like, oh boy, I got a whole bunch of
what
stuff.
What does she want? I can put together and we have all the sites. I mean, that's
You'd be like, they can have the gear I'm currently wearing because that gives me an excuse to go buy all new gear.
I may have done that. I actually may have done that recently. I'm like, here's my chest pads. I need new ones.
Yeah. And we have ladies that are always willing to like meet up to come out to a stick and puck with someone if they don't want to buy their USA Hockey First, which is a big commitment, right? We have people coming out to stick and pucks up in Ogden. We run a few, like last Sunday we had girls, women's only stick and pucks.
Oh, wow.
We run a few of those. We'll probably run another one in January. Every so often we get the ice for those. We did girls and women's try hockey for free up in Ogden. We'll run again here in a couple months. So there's always people happy to like help people jump in.
A lot of the teams, the Wings do, you guys do, we do practices. So the Vixen are every Thursday nights. And there's many times where people are like, well, I'm kind of interested. Well, pop into a practice, just see what you think. You don't have to buy anything. The gear is there.
What is your practice like? Do you have a coach running drills or you scrimmage?
The Vixen, we do have coaches.
Okay.
So we have that.
You.
I know, lucky us. We have a plethora of coaches on the Vixens. Let's be fair there. So there are times that we will split for, here's our B players. We're going to run a couple drills over here. Here's our, C players. Here's our brand news. So they're not trying to, keep up with our B players. So we really do split it up. It depends on who shows up for the practices and what's going on that night. We do every third Thursday now. We just do it for scrimmage because as a coach, we've all coached. It's hard to teach positioning and stuff in just station-based practices. So we'll run our scrimmages on Thursdays and we'll, stop the game, help the new player, stand here, look here, do this.
Scrimmages.
And that's been very helpful too. But we're more than happy. And we've even had kids come out, especially, girls. We've had some boyfriends that are brand new that come out and try to skate with us. That's adorable. But we'll have some of the girls' kids. So there's been some girls that have just started high school hockey. And we've had them come to our practice just so they get more ice time.
Oh.
And time with us and, so any of the teams are door wide open for anybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Wings run we do every other week is a skills and drills, like regular practice. Every other week we do a scrimmage. And when we look at our numbers, if we don't have enough, then we invite our men's, the ODL, the Ogden Developmental League. We're like calling a few of the guys. We're like, we need like 5 more for a scrimmage. And they're always like, yep, I'm in.
Perfect.
So we love that. But yeah, we do half skills and drills, half scrimmages. Just kind of like just enough to get you like some sort of a foundation, but also like, let's get some games in. Let's just have some fun.
Yeah. That's awesome.
They're my favorite.
Well, I got to tell you guys, I mean, this is a lot more than I thought there was. I love it. I appreciate everything you guys are doing to help grow the game. And like I said, I think it's important to get more females involved with it because it's a unique game in that it can be therapy and it's not just fun, but like I said, my friend base is from there. My therapy's there. Like that's what I need in my life. And I think it's important for other people to have that as well. So I appreciate everything you guys are doing to help grow the game. It's just awesome. Last spiel. What do you guys want to say? Like,
what you got going on in Salt Lake, Kelly?
Yeah. What's going on in Salt Lake?
Oh, so much.
You guys have so many players out there. Like, I don't even know how you keep track of everybody.
It's a very large spreadsheet. But, I know you're wrapping up, but the Utah Howl stemmed off of, there was a couple predecessors before I managed, but they tried to create the women's hockey at the U.
Oh, yeah.
And it didn't quite pan out. Now, granted, now they have a great, program up there, but a friend of mine started that, and we had to not be associated with the U anymore, just, because nobody went to the U anymore. So, we became
technicalities.
We became the Utah Howl, and I don't know if KSL will accept this answer, but we've kind of become the pride team.
Okay.
We are definitely composed of a significant amount of the LGBT community.
Yeah, I guarantee KSL's behind it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But our biggest marketing is that whatever.
We'll take you.
We'll take you. And
That's awesome.
We have gained a lot of ground. We have a few trans players, and they're just fantastic. And
They're so hard to play against. They've got some wicked talent.
First of all, they're always booked because everybody books the
yeah.
Howl. Like the Howl is the universal subs.
Well, it's good. It's good to hear this because we try to be that team. You know, I mean, women's hockey is not without its drama.
Yeah.
You know, there are people you don't want to play against. There are people you don't want to play with.
Yeah, same with men's.
But we try to be the team that everybody enjoys playing against, playing with, whichever. So,
Yeah.
Very cool.
But
And then you guys do have a tournament coming up in December.
Yeah, the Vixen December, is it the
8th, 9th, 10th?
8th, 9th, 10th? Yeah, that weekend. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It is a blast.
It is so much fun. I've been playing it for 12 years.
17. So
Is that 17
Because it was back in Park City 100 years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah. So this is our 17th year. It would have been 18, but the 1 year of COVID did not host it. But I mean, there's quite a few years that we even had Lady Grizz because there was enough girls 19U competitive teams that were able to have. They had their own division. We have a B division. We have a C division. We do baskets and raffles. And
It's very fun. It's nice that it's local. It's nice that I can sleep in my own bed.
That's
go up.
But we still
there you
get
go.
teams from outside of the state, so we get to play different. Because I love all these women. I do. They're my favorite people. But it's nice to get some new blood every now and again
Oh,
to
yeah.
test your skill against others. And it's really well run. It goes so smoothly. There's never really any huge problems unless the roof gives way and water comes in. We had that 1 year. That was fun. So that's that one. There is a really fun women's tournament up in Ogden in when is that usually?
April.
It's April.
Yep, so there's
the
a
rubber pucky.
Nope,
Okay.
that one's Icebreaker in April.
I lie. This is why I should just not do
Rubber Pucky was co-ed
Rubber Pucky was co-ed that
I played a lot
that
of hockey.
died.
that died
I played a lot of
because
hockey again.
we had to kick out too many teams,
That is right.
and then nobody wanted to play anymore.
Yeah, that was a-
run one though. But that tournament was so much fun.
It,
the rubber pucky.
one of these
So-
days I do need to get my stuff together and try it again. But
Look at it again.
You got some help.
I had a
over
daughter.
Yeah.
She became my life, so that here we are.
I
Yeah.
know how that is.
But yeah, there'll be another women's tournament in April. It's Icebreaker. It's girls women's hockey weekend. So the Icebreaker tournament for women's been around forever. We added the girls part last year, which is where we host girl try hockey for free, women's try hockey for free. We'll have girls clinics. We'll have women's. We'll have girls and women's only stick and puck. We basically take over the whole rink. I told the director up there, I was like, listen, if there's open ice, you block it. Oh, you're putting a stick and puck? It's girls and women's stick and puck. You're putting this out. So it's kind of a whole weekend where we kind of get together the same as this tournament, but we flood it with a bunch of girls programs too because the
Very
girls
cool.
get really excited.
Oh, it was
The
so much
girls
fun.
last year were like, oh my gosh, they came into the rink and every single game being played was women's and they've never seen that.
they
The
didn't
girls,
know.
the young girls had never seen that. They were like, what is happening? So that'll
we
be
need to
fun
put
too.
some pressure on Weber State to add a women's team too.
There's talks. There's some
I know
people.
there are talks.
Yeah.
There are some people that are in the works. There are some people that are working on it right now. I won't call them out. I don't know how far they are in the process. It would be really, really awesome to see. But we were talked about. I mean, they've had so many. Their bench is ridiculously long. They have so many good hockey players up in Weaver right now. They have so many. They have great coaches and equipment managers. So it's like if they could tap into some of those resources to double up to get like women's running and going, that would be so cool. And I think they might because we now have so many. Now that we're gaining so many girls programs, like.
And
We
we've got,
have to
Kristi's and
build those
Kelly's.
up.
We need
Yeah,
a few
we'll
more
get
of these
there.
ladies
Yeah, it
to
sounds
jump
like
in
they're
and
just
build
doing
it
a
like they
bang-up
are.
job.
They are killing it.
But yeah, let's just secretly all decide to like start the rumor of women's hockey at Weber until it comes into play. We'll
I'm
just
for
like
it.
all be like, no, I heard it was happening until it just like
How about we start designing jerseys right now?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, let's
if
get
we
going.
talk about it long enough, like can we like move it into
We do that. We do that in the fire department all the time. We start a rumor and try to make it come true.
Yeah.
There's
But
this
it kind
new
of
killer truck I want from
Yeah.
New York. It's
yeah,
totally coming.
it's
next
kind of
year.
the Kelly problem though, where like by the time you start, well, not the Kelly problem in that aspect, but like by the time you start trying to make it happen, you'll have people that started it graduate. And so it's hard
yeah.
because you have to have someone committed enough to know that by the time like their labor intensive process comes about, like how long are you planning on going to Weaver? Like how long are you going to stay in college? Because the people trying to start it now, like it either needs to take off or then all of a sudden you've built your team but some of you aren't going to school anymore. So yeah, let's just, you know what I meant. Like, it's just hard. But I'd love to see I'd love to see the U women's program have like other local teams to play and build on that.
For sure,
they had tryouts last year and they had an outrageous amount of people showing up. I mean, more than ever before. So the interest is there.
And they've had legitimate coaching, and I think
coaching's incredible.
Yeah, and I think you can have
incredible women coaches.
Definitely some good opportunities here. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys coming out again. I don't know what else to say. I'm really impressed.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
I'm never at a loss for words. If anybody knows me, I could talk all day. But I'm just really impressed at everything you guys have done, and I'm blown away by it, and I'm excited about what there is for the future. My daughter didn't play hockey. That was my wife's one demand, like, don't make her play hockey too. Like, but I always
was that really hard though? I mean, you wanted her to play
wanted her to, and she would come out, she could skate, she could would come to my camps, and she could do it all. But she was also like a legit basketball player, a legit soccer player, and
so she had
you get maxed out.
She was maxed out, but I thought she should give the other two up and just play hockey. But, but then that's just me. Well, anyway, again, thank you. They're going to be. I don't know if you guys get to see the rewards of your work, but you got to know it's out there. Like, there are little girls out there right now that are going to have an opportunity that wasn't here before, and it's because of people like you or Kelly that just gutted it out with the boys your whole growing up, and then to get out and play NCAA like you and Cammie back in the day. That's it was unheard of. And it was so cool, and it was such an inspiration. And it's because of people like you that there's more girls playing. So just keep it up. Just keep it up. Keep growing the game, and more people will be happy about it. Okay.
That's
well,
awesome.
thank you.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
That is this episode of the Utah Puck Report. Make sure you subscribe. We're available everywhere: Google, Apple, any place that has a podcast. We're there. And that is the Utah Puck Report.